Well, it feels like an absolute age since I filmed my last tutorial, and I do have a lot more to film this year. They're all loaded up, I just need to get in the car and film them. But what we're doing today, as you've probably guessed by the title and thumbnail, is an item that you would have seen on my last couple of car camps and on my community page, and that is my review of the ALLPOWERS 700 Power Station, which the lovely folks at ALLPOWERS have sent me. Now, as with any good power station review, there is the standard 10% off. Now that is only valid till the end of February. I'll also put the links to these and the 10% code in the description below. Now, if you're new to my channel, I already have a Jackery 240 that I bought about 2 years ago when I first started car camping. And whilst I would love to do a comparison between the ALLPOWERS 700 and the Jackery 240, the problem is it's not a very fair comparison because the ALLPOWERS is about 500 watts more powerful than the Jackery. But so the Jackery doesn't feel left out, it will pop up every now and again in this video. So this unit is a 700 watt unit, and what that basically means is it can power any item up to 700 watts. So for me, that has meant I've been able to buy this rather cool electric saucepan, which works at both 300 watts and 600 watts. And I've also managed to get this rather cool travel kettle, which works at 600 watts. Now, like any good YouTuber, I've done my research into other review videos for this unit. And what I've seen is that quite a lot of channels will show you a lot of items that don't work on this power station because the watts are too high. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to show you items that will actually work on this power station and items that you'll actually need when you go car camping. And to do that, we need to take a little ride to the shops. Now, something I kept seeing when I was looking at different power stations was of the surge ratings that the power stations have. So the ALLPOWERS has a surge rating of 1400 watts. And off the top of my head, I don't know what the Jackery one is. But to show you what the surge rating means, let me show you this. This is my 70 watt lunchbox, and this is my 200 watt Jackery. Now, you would think the Jackery would be able to use this lunchbox with ease. However, the problem is this. When you plug in and turn on, the lunchbox has a massive surge up to about 600 watts. And that makes the Jackery 240 crash out. Basically, the surge protection isn't high enough to cope with that number. And I think this is a really great simple way of seeing what and how a surge rating works. Another important number when you're looking at power stations is going to be the power station's capacity. And that basically is how much power the power station can hold. Now, for the ALLPOWERS 700, this is 606 watt hours. So if you're like me and you've never understood how watt hours and capacity and all that works, well, in the case of this unit, as you have a 606 watt capacity, you could use a unit that's powered at 606 watts for 1 hour. It's that simple. And then likewise, if you use an item up to 303 watts, then you could use that for 2 hours. The total number of watts that the appliance is, well, that's what you would use in 1 hour. That's how you basically work out how long your battery bank will last for and how long you can power an item for with that battery bank. And yeah, once you've got that sorted, then you can start to look at which battery bank is ideal for you, because the capacity and what you intend to use with it, i.e. if you're going to be using a high powered item, then you want the capacity to be good as well. Something I saw on another review video, and it's quite an important thing to add in terms of this capacity conversation, is that even though you have 606 watt max capacity, in terms of usage usage, because of how efficient the battery itself is, you would never get 100% use. I do think from my own use that I have seen this. So what that means is, on the one hand, yes, you have the sum of 300 watt per hour means you could use it for 2 hours to make 600 watt, and that's your capacity. But because it's not 100% efficient, that comes down a bit. One of the things that I like about this power station is that when you're using it, A, it will tell you how many watts you're using, but B, it also shows you how much time you've got left at that wattage. Well, I suppose I should show you all the different outputs and inputs the 700 has. Well, as you can see, it has 2 AC plugs, 3 normal USB plugs, 1 USB-C, which I'll talk about a bit later. It also has a 12 volt, these weird things, I'm not sure what they are, and in total there are actually 9 outputs, which for me is more than I will ever need on a car camp. So the USB-C port on this power station has 2 additional features, you could say. The first one is that basically it is a 100 watt output. So the idea of this is that it will fast charge items like phones and laptops and stuff like that. And the other function we'll talk about a bit later. Now, when you're using this power station, you do need to turn on whether or not you're using USB sockets or you're using AC sockets, and it's quite simply by pressing either that button for the sockets or this button for the AC plugs. Now, this button is the Bluetooth button. The reason why there is a Bluetooth button is because there is an ALLPOWERS app here. Now, for the ALLPOWERS 700, basically what this enables you to do is turn on the plugs, turn on the lights at the front, and to see what the output and input is. Now, for me, I don't really need to use this app, to be honest, because I'm in the back of my car. But there definitely are some uses for having the app and using it, because in effect it turns the app into a kind of remote control for different appliances. Say you've got a light, well, you can turn it on. Now, for me, what would make this unit absolutely perfect for my use is if there was a little wireless platform charging thing on the top for your phone. It would be absolutely perfect for car camping. But at the end of the day, it's not really a major issue, because you could simply just do this. Yeah, just make your own wireless charging port. What this power station also comes with, which I really like, is the fact it came with a 100 watt solar panel. Now, the solar panel is nice and compact, it folds open, you've seen them all on other people's channels, and basically what this means is if you was on a baking hot summer's sunny day and you put this panel out, then in theory it could charge the whole unit in 6 hours, and that basically means that you could be completely off-grid with this power station. Now, I must admit, what I do really like about this solar panel is the fact that it comes with so many different attachments, and that basically means you can use it across other power stations. And yes, you've guessed it, I can use it with the Jackery as well. So I haven't been able to test the solar panel properly just yet, but I did test it in the garden on a not particularly sunny day, and our garden is not a sun trap at all. In fact, the sun more hides from our garden, but even on that kind of day, through trees and over houses, I managed to get 10 watt input. Now, 10 watt input doesn't sound an awful lot in the grand scheme of things. If you imagine to yourself, well, 10 watts, how many hours would that take to charge a 606 watt capacity unit? But put yourself in this situation. Your car's broken down, your phone's out of charge, your power station's out of charge, and you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing and no one for 100 miles in all direction. Now imagine there's just enough sun to give you 5, 6, 7, 8 watts. So within an hour, you can have 6, 7, 8 watts inside the power station. Now with that 6, 7, 8 watts, you can now plug in your iPhone and put in enough charge to wake that up to enable you to make a phone call. And for me, I think that's why the solar panel is so great. Obviously in that situation, but just the fact you are actually getting free electricity. Now, I know you have to buy something first, so the unit's not free and that's not free, but you know what I mean. Once, as with anything, with my Jackery, I can now get free power for my Jackery. But that's why the solar panel is so good, because it does enable you to go off grid, so to speak. It enables you to recharge your power station as long as the sun's out, and it just means you can stay on the road for just that little bit longer and have power and get you out of sticky situations if you need to. And that also brings us on to another question that you might have, is that can you charge the unit and use it at the same time? I think that's called pass-through charging. So the answer is yes, but you shouldn't. Basically what ALLPOWERS say on their own website in the tech specs is, whilst you can do pass-through charging with the ALLPOWERS 700, they don't recommend it because it can reduce the lifespan of the battery. So you can if you really need to, but don't. So you may be wondering, how do you recharge the ALLPOWERS and how long does that take? So the unit itself only comes with an AC adapter. It doesn't come with a 12-volt cigarette. You would need to buy that separately. But to be honest, I had one with my Jackery and I've never used it with my Jackery. So the fact it doesn't come with one, to me, doesn't really make any difference, to be honest. You have the solar, which yes, on a fantastically good day, that will give you 100 watts. You have your AC adapter, which I think is your standard issue, several hours to charge. But what you also have, and we go back to that USB-C Type-C plug, is you have a PD input. Now, I'd never heard of PD on a Type-C USB before, but basically it's a way of fast charging, you could say. But what it means for this unit is, if you have a proper USB-C PD cable, then when you're charging at home on the AC, you can then plug in the USB-C also in an AC plug, and that basically brings the charge down to a rather more prompt hour and 30 minutes, it says. Now, I haven't tested that entirely, but from what I can see, when I'm on charge with just the AC, the input is 100 watts. And I think it says when you use the USB-C PD, then that brings it up to 160 watts. I did buy a special 100 watt USB-C PD cable. That was only about £8 on Amazon. It'll be on my Amazon storefront. Now, I already had a USB-C fast charging plug, which is that one. So I originally thought I would have to use this with that wire, but actually when I did that, the wattage was no different. So what I've actually realized is, for me, using a USB-C iPhone plug and this 100 watt PD cable, I am getting an extra 34 to 40 watts on the charge. But I do believe as well that you can actually charge with solar and AC as well, so you can mix and match how you charge, and all those different mix and matches is basically how you can get the unit to charge faster. Another question you might be wanting to know is this a pure sine wave power station? It's something that I was looking for when I bought the Jackery. Basically means it charges your sensitive electrical devices sensitively, so there's no power surges and stuff like that. It's a nice, I'm not going to try to explain it because I don't understand it, and the answer is yes, this does have pure sine wave. So the biggest question of all has to be, would I recommend this power station to you? Well, I think I'm going to put that question back to you, because it depends on what you're looking for. It depends on the devices you want to charge. It depends how much capacity you want. It depends how fast you want to be able to recharge. It depends if you want solar. So let me say it another way. For my uses, this power station is absolutely wonderful. The fact I can cook on electric saucepan in the car now is beyond game changer as far as my car camping is concerned. The fact I have a kettle now that boils in 6 minutes rather than my old 12-volt kettle, which was half an hour, again, it's an absolute game changer. And those two things alone are actually what I really wanted a more powerful power bank for. So this more than meets the needs that I have. So how have I found the capacity of the power bank so far? Well, I've only used it on 2 car camps. On the first car camp, I cooked a full-on massive Chinese banquet, and the cooker on the 300 watt setting was on for about a good half an hour. I boiled the kettle 4 or 5 times. I charged my phone, I charged my camera batteries, and I still had about 40% left at the end of the car camp. Now, the last time I used my power bank, I was naughty and I did run it down to 0, but that's because I left my cooker at home and I had to use my lunchbox, and I had that on for a good 4 hours plus, boiled the kettle twice, charged my phone, I might have done a camera battery as well. So I'm not massively disappointed that it ran out, because I wouldn't normally use the lunchbox, and the fact it was on for so long, it just ate all the power. So for my usage, this unit is absolutely perfect, and to have the solar panel as well when I do my multi-day later on this year, that will prove to be invaluable as well. So I think that's the best way to recommend this unit to you, is look at what you want it for, look at what you want to power, and go from there. So the reality is, this might not be the right unit for you. If you don't need a 700 watt unit, then there's no point buying one. But what I would say is, having the extra wattage and being able to use higher power equipment is very, very cool. But I hope you found this little video useful, and until next time, take care. It's important to say that having this battery bank won't really change an awful lot for my normal car camping experience, but it might add a little bit more comfort.